Steve Fawcett, HWPO training updates. Amanda, how are things going there? How's her injury? How's she feeling?
Yeah, good, Amanda. Obviously we've all just come over to HWPO HQ now in Vermont. Everyone got in yesterday. So we've done one training session so far, and it was a big muscle-up session. Ticked all the boxes. Great progress made in the last few weeks, especially. So yeah, she's just doing well. It's just one of those things we're gonna have to keep managing every day, every session.
Does
That's
it
why
affect
she's
her
come over.
confidence at all? Like, does she have to be more careful than she'd like to be or anything, or is she wary?
Yeah, I mean, you can't just think that you're in the same position you were a year ago, and do the same thing, same volume, same intensity. You have to think about it a little bit more, bit smarter. Requires a lot of kind of back and forth with the coaches. There's Josh, who plays quite a big role with Amanda. Josh and myself have been working with her just to try and make sure that every session where we're trying to get work on the shoulder is given the best like adaptation and output. So yeah, there's hesitation there, but it's just because the shoulder's not in the same position it was a year ago. But progress is definitely happening.
What about Brooke? Speaking of injuries, she obviously had her labrum issue in the Open. How's that going?
Yeah, very similar. Obviously, Brooke's here as well. We've got Brooke and Amanda, and we've just run through another very similar session. It's like a similar injury, but also quite different at the same time in terms of what they need to do to help the issue get better. But again, another great muscle up session in the bank today. We've got plenty of time to be able to get one or two more in before quarterfinals. So yeah, it was just obviously she made the decision for 24.3 just to leave it at the 5 rounds. It was just a little bit too early, and if we didn't need to do it, then we had that luxury of deciding just to leave it at the first 5 rounds. It was just maybe a few weeks ahead of what we planned as our schedule to be able to do that volume in that intensity. So, we replicated pretty much that volume and that intensity today, and it was literally no issues. So, yeah, we're all good on that front.
Huge January for Sam Quant in Miami Wadapalooza. Is he confident this year heading into the season?
Yeah, I think, like I said, it was a huge result for him there. He was really motivated off the back of that result as well. He's probably one out of everyone who's had the most changes leading into this season. Obviously, he'd worked with Harry for maybe 7 years, just like solely Harry. And then we had came more like into the HWPO coaching team. So there's like 7 of us working between, more specifically with Josh. And then I do some work with Josh to help. So we had a lot of differences in terms of like how he's approaching his training, and for him to then like see that in January, like it really, like he was all in with training anyway, but I think it really helped like get him excited for the season. So he's just been going from strength to strength every week, every month up until this point. But we're just trying to not cook him too early. It's what we've got to remember at this point of the season. We've got loads of time.
Obviously, quarterfinals tends to be something that a lot of athletes, respect but move past. Jason has a bit of a different quarterfinals this year because he's going to Crash. Him, Taylor Self, Dallin Pepper, Colt Mertens. Any concerns there about maybe too much intensity or anything like that?
No, I don't think the week of the quarters is going to make too much of a problem. Especially when we have 6 days to do 4 workouts. So I don't think the 1 week on its own will, regardless of who they're with and what they're doing, it's more so the intensity over like multiple weeks back to back that can start having the effect. And we want to make sure that this year we're doing a good job of timing that. Like I said then with Sam, just timing when we get the, that step up in lifestyle towards the training, and step up in like approach towards competition at the right time. And not a bit too early. So there's only Brooke and Amanda here. They've come more so to get more coaching one-on-one time with their issues that they've been having. We'll just try to keep everyone else in their like home surroundings more, and work into getting them over when we lead into more of the business end of the season come June and July.
You have some obviously more distant people from Vermont than others. They're actually some of them are actually probably closer to you, though. You got Victor in France, Victor Hoffer, and Jacqueline Dahlstrom just off the coast of Spain, and then Jake Douglas in Australia. I saw Jake post today that he's seems to be dialing more things in and, you know, focusing on the smaller details than he has in the past. Is there a bit of a redemption on the cards for him this year, do you think?
Yeah, it's I don't know if you say redemption, because he achieved his goal last year. Obviously, the result isn't what he wanted at the games, but when we first connected, we spoke, and it was like, right, the goal is to get to the games. So yeah, he wants to correct like his result when he gets there. But again, we've just got to think about with Jake, he's in a really competitive region. Don't know if they've confirmed the exact amount of spots. Maybe you know.
No, not yet.
But they've been guaranteed 3. And in the men's and the women's, like I can think of a handful of names that are fucking solid. Oh, shouldn't have swore. That are really solid athletes, like straight away. So we're just going to focus on that. Take every hurdles that comes, and yeah, he's got to start dialing it in now to make sure he's in the position where he can contend again at semis.
I know you have JR on site with Jason, and he's obviously an educated and intelligent mind to have eyes on. Is it similar with Jacqueline? Like, are you relying on John? Are you like communicating with John there at all, or is it purely just through Jacqueline?
It's through Jacqueline. Obviously, it's great that Jacqueline has John as her other half. I'm not sure of the status, but there are other half. Someone who, you know, he knows how to work with athletes. Like he knows what he's doing. So it's good to always be able to have that person like JR with Jay, who can just give that bit of feedback. Like they can spot that small thing in like a certain set or what they're doing in a workout and correct that, because sometimes working remotely, that isn't always something that can be picked up. Yeah, it's just good that we can have people of that quality to assist with the athletes, so we can, you know, put the work in remotely, and then we know, we're confident that they're doing the right things in the gym. And if something is, maybe they're not doing something quite to a standard, or, you know, they're going to get pulled up on it. So we've got quite a few athletes around Catherine's you know, age and experience, with Brooke and Amanda, Christine, like, you know, lower ends of the 30s. We've had quite a lot of time in CrossFit, and for a lot of those guys, the focus has just been getting the body, you know, moving and working and ready to go after it through a season again. So in terms of focus for Catherine, that's been the main focus, and just as we get closer into the competition, just stepping things up.
Josh, you're here. We're going to get you to talk a bit about Haley. So you're working with her since her comeback, or in the midst of her comeback. This is we're currently going through it now. How are things going? How was the open experience for her? How, did she come through it unscathed? Is she like niggle free?
Yeah, no, she feels amazing going into quarterfinals. I think the open was actually perfectly placed for her as far as her comeback goes, because, you know, we'd been training and building things up and progressively ramping up towards competition. But then when you actually have to line up and send it, things change a little bit. And it was nice to be able to have that opportunity to kind of knock the ring rust off and be like, oh yeah, like I'm ready to rock now. So after I would say the first open event, her mind just kind of clicked right back into gear and was like, okay, I'm ready to take on the rest of the open. And she's feeling super sharp right now. Quarterfinals is going to be such a great opportunity for her to really let the dogs out full force. So we're excited to watch her send it. And yeah, she feels very ready.
Do you create an environment for her then for quarterfinals, or do you just do it as if it's the open? Like, do you get someone to race? Do you worry about that kind of stuff, or is she experienced and seasoned enough that you don't need to kind of manipulate things like that?
That's a great question. So actually with the open, it was a little bit of kind of getting used to each other, in the sense of, you know, beforehand we were like, what do you enjoy? What kind of environment do you want? Do you feel like you thrive in? And for her, I think it started off with a little bit of, oh yeah, let's just do it together. Let's just pump the music up and just kind of go. And I think after the first one, we realized, okay, we need to have a little bit more of a focused approach to where, you know, where the setup is a little more tailored around her. And making sure that everything is focused on her versus just having other things going off in the periphery. So now that we've dialed that in, going into quarterfinals, we have things pretty much figured out in that regard. It's always nice to have that opportunity to play around with camera setups, and we do that a little bit in practice as well. But to make sure that we have all that stuff dialed in going into quarterfinals. So I honestly feel like right now we have the right plan going into quarterfinals with her environment. We know the music that she likes, what bars she likes to use, what the setup's going to be. And we've kind of worked out any of the kinks that needed to be worked out.
Moving or throwing an eye beyond quarterfinals and to semifinals, is that something that you're in any way concerned about, like in-person competition and the fact that it's been a while since she's done it, and or are you expecting her to just slip back into that kind of mode of focus?
We've actually had lots of conversations about this. She doesn't treat the quarterfinals any different than she would semifinals. And, she's a very seasoned athlete. So, we're going to rely on that experience. We've talked about doing other competitions or other competitive endeavors leading up to semifinals. She feels very confident that getting to semifinals, she'll know exactly what to do and be able to kind of like hit the ground running once it's in-person competition. So if she were more of a green athlete, I think we would have more of those concerns. But because she's such a veteran, we trust in her experience and we trust in what she's telling us as far as, hey, here's what I need to get ready. And let's try to make that happen. So, yeah.
And everything is trending in the right direction. The numbers are where you want them to be, and the body is moving the way you want it to. There's nothing, you don't feel like there's anything holding her back, or any particularly thick levels of rust anywhere that might be of concern.
No, it's funny. I just got off the phone with her. She's not nervous. She's more eager and excited. She's chomping at the bit and ready to get going. So that's a really exciting place for us to all be, kind of like as a little group, to where, the athlete is feeling so fired up and she feels very ready. We were talking about, hey, you feel good if XYZ comes out. She's just like, I'm just excited. I'm ready, and so she feels eager to see what the tests are. And she kind of has the mindset of like, it kind of just doesn't matter what comes out. I'm going to tackle it as hard as I can.
We're here for an update on all things Norway and Norwegian and Europe. Europe is obviously your focus for individual quarterfinals largely. Andrea Solberg, huge off-season, great couple of displays in Dubai. Having spoken to her, she seems very confident and feels like she's at her fittest. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yeah, absolutely. The thing with her, for all the years, she's always been fit, but she has had some big holes. And now they're starting to disappear. So for the last 1.5 years, it has just gone one way, and that's up. So that's been really good.
Any concerns there with her and the fact that beyond quarterfinals, the semifinals stage in Europe is so stacked that it's like for everyone there, it's one or two mistakes could cost you your spot? Like, is that something that you're kind of worried about, or?
It's always the thing in Europe. I think in the Open this year, we had like 49 women in the top 100. But I actually think as long as we get to semifinals, that's so many game spots this year. I guess 11 or 12. So I think the chances are really big if we get there.
Is it good for her when it gets to, a smaller field in semifinals, the fact that there's less people maybe to come between her and other people in rougher events for her?
Yeah, exactly. She would probably be better off this year than previous years, but it's still good the smaller the field, the better.
Yeah. You have Camilla there too. I won't attempt I will. Camilla Solomonsson-Hellman. She's been at the games a few times. So she's back now. She had a child, is that right?
Yeah, she had a child 2 years ago, and she started with us now last fall after the summer. And I think last year for her was just to try it out and see if she were going to get back. This year she really wants to get back to the games, and things are looking really good, and she's stronger now than she's ever been before. Actually yesterday she hit a PR in the snatch as well.
Wow, that's insane. Moving further afield, then Seher over in Asia that's her route towards the games. She was obviously there last year as well, so she's like quite familiar with it. Getting to that stage, for someone like her, is the focus purely on semifinals from now, like, or is it feasible for an athlete to gloss over quarterfinals like that?
Of course, we need to have respect for every stage, but for her, that's the big benefit with training her, that we can actually focus, of course, a little bit on the semifinals, but also on the games almost all year around. Because as long as she does what she should do in every event, there is no real risk in either the quarterfinals or semifinals. While we still respect all the other competitors, of course, but she has been so good, and she doesn't really have those big holes. So we're pretty confident that we don't really prepare for the quarterfinals, at least.
Team competition obviously is on a bit of a mid-season break now up until semi-finals. Quarterfinals are over. You had a very busy period over in Oslo and then in Miami as well. Are you happy with how everything went?
Yeah, we're really happy with that. We got four teams from CrossFit Oslo in, and also the Prestanda team in Sweden, and the Peak, of course. So I think we was really happy with the weekend. Every team has gotten all their videos reviewed, and it's okay. So now we start to prepare for semifinals.
Yeah, that's always the hiccup that you're hoping to avoid when the reviews process start. You see people's scores turning to 0 and then turning back into scores again.
Yeah,
with
we try to
with with those guys, then Miami is obviously a fair distance away. Sweden is a bit closer. Between now and semi-finals, are you hoping to visit those areas or try and get people to come to you, or how do you manage that? Is it purely online for the next few weeks?
For the Miami team, is only online. For the Sweden team, they have their own Kriger coach that has visited them one time now, and probably one more time before the semifinals.
And then you obviously have the 4 that you've touch points on whenever you want, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Arielle Loewen, you're head coach of Arielle Loewen, and you're here to give us a season update. So the last we saw of you, quite a busy off season. You were in Birmingham. The Open and that travel and the kind of hectic off season, are you feeling good? Are you feeling like there's no like little niggles or wears and tears or anything that you're concerned about the next couple of months?
Yeah, as Arielle Loewen's coach of Arielle Loewen, the biggest thing right now is like pulling back the reins of a horse. I know it needs to be done. Probably after quarterfinals, I'll start ramping up a little bit. But right now, it's just like making sure, like, I'm just chilling, I'm just relaxing, I'm having fun. So when it's time to go hard, we let the reins go and we go crazy.
Are you struggling with that? Like, is it difficult to hold back in your training day to day?
It really is. And whenever I program, I sit down and it's like, okay, I'm not allowed to do more. So whatever's written on the board, whenever I start the workout, I cannot add more because I'm the programmer, I'm the coach, I'm the athlete. If my coach brain says, oh, okay, 10 rounds is easy, let's do 12 rounds, I'll listen to it. But I have to like tell myself, no, there's a season to do more, and now is not the season.
Obviously you can't take any stage in the season for granted. You know, people have done it to their own peril in the past. With quarterfinals, do you treat it as a test? As in, you obviously want to make the cut line, but do you treat it as, well, if I come in the top 3 or 4, that shows me X, Y, or Z? Or is it literally just a hurdle to step across and you don't need to leap, you don't need to show off?
We trained harder for the Open than we are for quarterfinals. So for me, there's more on the line for the Open because I can earn a little bit of money. Quarterfinals is just the next stage. It doesn't matter if I'm first going into semifinals, like it all starts from 0. Get through quarterfinals, comfortably qualify for semis, and then we go crazy.
So no redos on the cards for the quarterfinals then?
So last year I did redo the clean and jerk workout, which was the burpee box jump overs clean and jerk, because I felt like I could shave off 30 seconds. But I try not to go into quarterfinals planning any redos. unless needed. Because I don't think there's a point.
Yeah, that's fair. Semi-finals then will be the next kind of, I guess, major hurdle to cross beyond quarterfinals. There's obviously a smaller number of people making it through to that stage compared to other years in, globally, I guess. Does that ramp up any pressure? Do you think about things like that, or are you fairly confident in your abilities that regardless of where the cut line is, you'll make it through?
Health is all relative regarding that. I know if I go into semifinals healthy, I have a really good chance of qualifying for the games. So if I can stay healthy after quarterfinals, I'll add in more like machine work because I know semifinals loves machines. So I'll start tapering for semifinals. But if I'm top 10 at the end of semifinals, I've done what I need to.
Cool. Well, that was perfect. Thanks for that. I really appreciate it. If this is well received, I'll be in touch again.